Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Ready to revolutionize your franchise with AI? Franchise Now empowers franchises with advanced AI solutions, automatic processes, and enhanced marketing strategies. From personalized customer interactions to predictive analytics, we help you harness AI to drive growth and efficiency. Transform your franchise with the power of AI. Visit Franchise Now to learn more and take your business into the future. Now, here's your host.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and we are the show that delves into the world of franchising. We uncover the secrets behind successful franchise models, and today is no different. In fact, I'm welcoming back Bryan Park. He is the founder of Footprint Floors, and he's been on the show before, but we're going to delve into some updates and some different things. In fact, they're celebrating their 15th year anniversary. So it's great to have him back on the show. Bryan, welcome back to the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Love being here. It was fun the first time and hope it's even more fun the second time.
Exactly. Well, I don't raise the bar too high. And the bar's getting too high. No, I'm kidding. No, it's all good. Now, I love franchising because to me, we could tell a story about every single one of your franchisees times X number of times. So it's like you never run out of great ways to talk about the brand or the model. And I definitely want to get into some of the stuff that's, we talked earlier about you guys kind of being at the forefront of technology in the flooring business, which you said, the bar wasn't that high in the first place. But I disagree. I think nowadays it's harder to do that, and you guys do it exceptionally well. So I definitely want to make sure we delve in. But for everybody else that's just tuning in first time, maybe learning about the brand, why don't we give them a good overview of how things got started and what makes you unique?
Yeah, we're a residential flooring company. We install sand and finish hardwood floors. We install tile. We do bathroom remodels. We're 99% residential remodel. So we're not really doing commercial or new home construction. We're just in really middle class, regular people's houses doing flooring projects. And we're good at a lot of different things. And I would call them, things that have separated us in marketplaces. We do very well. We're an excellent marketing company. We're an excellent sales company. And then probably above all that, we're pretty dang good at doing floors. And what makes us good at doing floors isn't that we're these magical floor guys. It's really our integrity. We show up, we do what we say we're going to do. And this is an industry that's not exactly, there's some companies that do that, but by and large, most companies really struggle with the whole integrity stuff. So that's it. I mean, that's our separator. We show up, we do what we say we're going to do, and we're good at it. But yeah, so we've been doing this for 15 years. I started doing the company, or started doing floors myself back 20 years ago. And I install, sanded, and finished floors myself with my own hands for a number of years, 5-6 years. Started Footprints at about that time, 2008 was when I started the business. And it was really out of need. The company I was working for was just destroyed by the 2008 recession. They stopped paying their people, including me. I went 6 months without a paycheck. I was on staff, just living on credit cards, hoping they would pay me back someday. And they racked up close to $40,000 in W-2 pay to me, and they never did pay me, and I never did get that money. That forced my hand, and I didn't even quit. They fired me, even though they owed me $40,000. It seems rather backwards thinking about it at this point, but. So I left there and started Footprints in December 9th, 2008. So probably the single worst month to start a construction company in the last, since the Great Depression, really in the 20s.
The December 8th. Yeah, that was the fall. That was October of 2008, right? That was just, I remember everything was on lockdown. Not like being in the house, but all money was locked down.
People going out of business left and right. And here I am trying to start a construction company in the winter in a very seasonal business. There's no money. There's no nothing. I'm $50,000 in debt and credit cards upside down in my house. I have a 2-year-old. My wife's 8 months pregnant, 6 pets, 800 square foot house. Like it was some dire straits.
I feel like you just gave me the bullet points, the checklist of what you don't look for when you're looking for a franchisee.
things not to have as you're launching a new business.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not what you want your franchisee to be in that position, right?
It is my bullet points though, as I'm talking to franchisees, like, you guys have it so much better. Like, this is how I started this business, and here we are today, and I made it. And you're telling me that you can't make it because of X, Y, and Z. Like, our resumes do not compare, kind of thing. And not that we play that very often, but it helps me speak from a place of strength. Like, I've been where you guys are at times 10. You're going to be okay. You just need to, stay the course. We have a convention every year, and our theme for this upcoming convention, we've been talking about it, is anchored and being steadfast and firm and resolute. These are kind of the terms that we're using. And really, it's all about a mindset of being anchored to truth and to reality, that you're going to be okay, and you can't ride the waves of emotions and ups and downs as a business owner. Economies come and go. This year, not so hot in the residential construction world, but that's okay. Next year hopefully is better, and we'll ride this wave. But it's just having that proper mindset as a business owner to weather the storms.
Yeah. Well, so like you made some good points there, and tell me a little bit about that side of it. You have this, you're a franchise brand, you're in it together. So you grew a lot since 2019. Is that true? Like, did I get that right? You had a pretty a growth spurt in the last, say, 5 to 7 years. Is that true, or has it been steady more so?
No, it's from 08 to 19. So the first 10, 11 years, we weren't a franchise model. So it was just me developing a flooring company in Denver.
Got it. Okay. So it was 19 that you launched. It wasn't just the growth spurt in 19. Got it.
Correct. Yeah.
You had 4 locations. You had 4 locations up and running, I believe, around that.
So all in kind of the Denver metro area. Those were our locations. Yeah. We went out of state for the first time in 19. And then we've gone from 4 locations to about 180 in the last 5 years.
So, I mean, that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So tell me about what that looks like then. So now, are you in as a CEO, do you look at, so how do you handle future trends? How do you look at trends right now? And in your mind, do you still have the foot on the gas to expand the network? Or do you kind of balance that and say, no, let's double down and focus on our existing channels, our existing franchisees? How does that work when you're looking at it from your view? And obviously you've grown a lot in a short time. So are you still on that trajectory, or what is it looking like now?
No, when we went out of state, a huge important piece of all of this for me was, as we're growing, can the royalties coming in off the business model cover our expenses? I didn't want to create a model that was dependent on franchise sales. I think that's a pretty dangerous place to be as a franchisor. It changes your mindset. We always need to be selling franchises, or else we're going to go under. And so then you start making some sacrifices around integrity, around who you're letting in the system, and it makes for a pretty shaky foundation if that's the decisions you have to make. We have always been very cognizant and really just steadfast in financial just wisdom. We're well off, I guess, from a royalty standpoint. It covers our expenses. We don't need franchise sales, which has given us, it's a luxury now to really double down and invest in our current franchisees. And that's, I think, the growth. That's my priority. If our franchisees are doing very well from a unit economic standpoint, they're making good money, they're telling good stories then and validation, that leads to the kind of franchise sales that we want. We're not trying to trick anybody into coming into our system. In fact, we probably share too much. Like, hey, here's all of the bad news ever, because we want you to know what you're getting into as you're starting this venture. This is a 10-year marriage, and you can't unwind it. It's very hard to get divorced. So let's not even have that be an option. So our mindset from a growth standpoint is, let's take care of our current franchisees, and whatever franchise sales may come from that, and so be it. And it's worked very well. We still have good franchise sales. So it's not like we have gone stagnant by any means. The focus is unit economics for our current people. And then what comes of that comes of it.
Yeah. So when you first, I'm just to because you did grow a lot in a short time. That's very exceptional. But when you were in those first couple of years, how did you balance that out? How did you make sure you still put your franchisees first, but you knew you had to acquire to keep the momentum at some point, right? At some point, you outran it so that you didn't have to keep bringing in new franchisees. But a lot of brands are like that, where they, in the beginning at least, they do have to keep bringing in some franchisees. I mean, how did that work? Or did you just say, you know what, you're putting them first, no matter what, it's always going to be that first? Or is there ever a balance? I mean, how does that work?
Uh, we had a lot of things going for us. We were a very well-established and financially savvy company already in Denver. We were the largest flooring company in Denver. There was a lot of money. Yeah. We had a lot of staff. We were running 40 to 50 crews a day with 30 people on staff already. So as we started adding franchisees, it wasn't too hard to stay ahead. And if I have any skill set that's worth anything, it's just being a forward thinker. And I tend to hang out in like 6 to 12 months ahead of us land. I don't like to be reactive. I like to be very, very proactive. And so I tend to bring on people 6 months before I need them. And so we were anticipating this growth, and we have for the last 5 years now. We're always bringing in people before we actually need them, which, it's not the most financially wise move to have somebody on staff before we need them, but it allows us to get them trained and up to speed and integrated into our culture. And then they can start to move into their new role. And as the growth continues, then they have a place to be. But I'd rather be on that side of the equation. I'd rather have too many people and too much support than not enough. So we tend to be ahead of the game. And it's a luxury. That's what I meant by a luxury is we have the income coming into the business from the overall model that we can have these people on staff as luxury to stay ahead of the curve.
I think that's an important point to make. I mean, that's exceptional that your brand is in that position. And I think it's important for prospective franchisees to think about what you just said. So that's amazing that you are in that position. You have a great business model. It's well funded. It allows you to do the right thing, right? But I think you wouldn't anyway. Right? You don't want to be in the position of, hey, I'm in debt, right? And I'm doing it because I have to do it. I don't have a choice. Like in the beginning, right? You already did that once, and now you make that out of everybody. Yeah, exactly. I did it once for everybody else.
That was stressful. I don't want to do that again.
Exactly.
Launching a business with no money was stressful.
I'm sure your wife didn't like that either.
No, and she was just me and her. She was who was answering the phones with a 2-year-old and a newborn, with customers and the whole thing. And I'm out doing floors for 7 days a week, and she's balancing everything else. So, yeah.
That's such a great story to even hear, though. Like if I was learning about starting a business and learning from you guys and your brand, it makes you realize, you know what, this isn't easy. And that's the point of franchising, which makes it so cool, is that you can build this community and help people get into business and be proud of what they do, right? I mean, and you said earlier, it's not rocket science, but in a sense, it is. I mean, you've done a lot of things that you would probably say are little things, but you've done a lot of little things well. And that's why you were successful early on as a business owner. What you said, 40 crews or something like that. It's crazy. Do you have a franchisee that has come close to as big as you are or were? Anybody getting close?
We had kind of a sucker's punch moment a couple months ago with Josh Bird in Nashville. He almost caught me in Denver, which we had one of our worst months and he had his best month ever. And he got within like 15 or 20% of us. And we're like, oh, so I use that as a training opportunity with my Denver staff. I went back like, hey, this isn't going to happen, guys. You need to get going. So
it's good competition.
Yeah.
So it's like a proud father seeing, his kids achieve. And it's like, you can beat me, but you're the only one. I'm still going to compete hard against you though.
Oh, I got to start. Yeah. No. And Josh is a phenomenal franchise owner. So I don't want to take away from him. He's doing stellar. He's been our 2 times in a row franchisee of the year. He's doing a couple few $1 million a year now. So he's doing well. He's starting to nip at our coattails, and we gotta start going.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That'll be a thing someday. Someone actually catches Denver, right?
Yep.
So that'll be a good thing. That'll be a good problem to have, so to speak. All right, so let's dive into tech a little bit. I know you. I don't know. We're a flooring company, but you are high tech, in my mind. Like you do some really cool things. So tell me. I mean, we just said it. You said in our business, it's about doing what we said we do, right? And a lot of that has to do with communication, and communication many times is details and takes time, and that's hard to do when you're running a business and you got a lot of things you got to take care of. So clearly, tech, automation, communication, all that is important. Kind of making the customer feel like, yeah, this is easy. This is like, I get it. I know where they're at. I know what they're doing. I'm happy. Like, as long as you kind of go with the flow of what's happening, you usually feel pretty good as a buyer. Anyway, tell me more about how you were able to kind of create that experience. Probably something you build over time, right? Yourself, learning trial and error. But then you're like, okay, if I bring a franchisee into this model, I need them to be at my level. What are the things they need? Tell me a little bit about what you built technologically to kind of help the franchisee deliver a service that's at your standard.
Uh, my initial thoughts on technology, and maybe just as as a framework, we hear technology, and we hear AI and all these buzzwords, and there's a certain amount of like, what's this big event, this big thing that's going to happen? It's almost like clickbait. Tell me about something super sexy and amazing that nobody's ever done before, because that's the real wow factor. And really, what I've seen as a business owner for 20 years is technology isn't so much a buzzword with clickbait and this big event. It's just it's a plod. It's a slow grind to continually add to systems and what's the new thing and what doesn't work and what does work. And there's not one big sexy event that is clickbait worthy necessarily. So to answer your question, what does Footprints do from a technological standpoint that's so unique? It's a lot of little things that we've been pushing into for a long time to get things fine tuned and in the right spot. And so you look at it and you're like, okay, but we have so many mechanisms in place now, from our CRM and which customer relation, like this is how we track our customers' information. And we've invested heavily with a partner company that has built this custom CRM for us. There's tons of automations built into it now. We're able to import customer information from all of our different marketing sources. It's called APIs, and they get imported into our system. And then these automations go out in the form of emails and text messages and prompting our staff to call, and customers can sign up their own estimates. And there's a lot there. None of that sounds super attractive. And it's like, oh, isn't everybody doing that? Well, no, actually, it's a pretty rare thing, especially in kind of the mid-sized and lower companies where we find ourselves. Yeah, if you're talking to IBM or Amazon, then they're doing that kind of stuff, but they got some pretty big technology budgets that we don't necessarily have. But yeah, it's continuing to push into that. We recently spoke as a company at the NWFA, which is the National Wood Flooring Association's giant convention. And essentially, it's like the convention for the flooring industry. Just happened in April, and they asked us to speak on technology, coincidentally. And so we taught for an hour and a half on the systems that we use and why we use them, and the innovations that we have. And this is all pretty amazing, unique stuff for the flooring industry, all these automations and ways to track. We do our bidding in there. We can generate work orders automatically. Everything is digital. We're not printing anything. We have apps, and we have a system for checking on job sites where we can take pictures. It's GPS centric, which is really snazzy. We just pull up to our house and we open up this app, and the app knows which house we're at based on GPS. And then we can just start taking pictures of damage on the walls prior to us. This was not our damage. This was maybe the home or whatever. But just or like before and after pictures, and using the functionality in these different programs to create a lot of marketing tools. And now these marketing tools, we take pictures in this app, and we have these widgets in place that automatically upload onto our website. So as our field people are creating before and afters, it's automatically going onto our website, and it's all automation. And we can do time lapse videos. Like there's a lot of really slick stuff. But again, it's just kind of a constant plod. of figuring out what works and what doesn't work and putting it together and making it happen. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, but it's separators, right?
Yeah, yeah. So how do you do that? So you have, obviously you've done things over time. So it's like you just said, I'm going to wave a magic wand today and 100 things will be different. So you obviously had to do it over time. What would you say are the things you look for now that you've done this? Like you say, the technology is not about technology for technology's sake. It's about moving a needle, something in the business that will make it easier for the franchisee or better for the customer or more profitable or less expensive. I mean, what do you look at to try to say that's worth the time and effort to make this change? See it now. Like, is there something you see when you, yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting, I find myself, and I don't think too highly of myself. I'm just this floor guy from Denver that's stumbled his way down this path of franchising for 20 years. But I find myself often talking to huge billion-dollar marketing companies, retailers, multi-billion-dollar retailers. And I'm like, it'd be really cool if this or that was happening. And they're like, huh, nobody's ever said that to us. We've never thought about doing it that way. And so to answer your question, what do I look for is, and I have the luxury now of talking to C-suite level individuals because of the size of our business. So as I'm talking to these huge marketing companies, I'm talking to VPs, I'm talking to not quite CEOs, but COs and chief of marketing and these kind of people. I'm like, it'd be cool if your system did this. Why doesn't it? And they listen and they go, that's actually really cool. If that helps you guys, it'd probably help all of our other customers too. We're going to look into doing that. And so I don't, dozens of times we've seen these kind of projects come out. And what's interesting to me is it's like lowly footprints floors is changing. And how is it that nobody else has thought about this rather simple thing? Why doesn't everybody do it this way? It's like, here's a unique example. We have a in-house phone answering team of 40 individuals, and we answer all incoming phone calls for our franchisees, and we put it on their schedules for them. And then they're just alerted that they have an appointment that they then go to the next day or whatever. I guess we're very unique in that. Most franchise systems don't have an in-house call center. They have each individual franchisee responsible for their own calls. But because we're set up for that way, it's quite unique. Now we can start interacting with our marketing companies and pool our power. And hey, we're this large company now with an in-house phone answering, and they can start to build systems around who we are. And there's not really many companies out there doing it that way. It's usually individuals. And so they love the idea that they only have one contact point. They have one person, one system to integrate with. It's not 95 different or 180 different unique systems to integrate with. So yeah, we find ourselves being trailblazers quite often in this construction, remodel world. Which, yeah.
And you're like, it's just common sense. Yeah,
it feels like it to me. So I guess to answer your question directly, what do I look for? I look for an open ear, somebody who's willing to listen and is like, yeah, that's great. And they're willing to do it. I share ideas, and some work and some don't. But it's that plotting. We're just going to keep moving forward, and if we can change things, change our world, then so be it. And it's personal. I don't give up either. I'm kind of, I don't know. I can be annoying.
I think we're all a little like that. Yeah. If you're in your position, you kind of are like that. You're a bit of a driver and a visionary. So you just have to keep going. Can't help it. But so that makes sense though, right? What you said is another interesting point that I haven't heard anyone frame it the way you did. But you built a model that was advantageous to the vendors. And that gave you leverage to help your franchisees. So you built a centralized model that was easier for your franchisees, but also gave you leverage with the vendors, which makes everybody happy, right? So they can pass the savings on to your franchisees because it's easier to deal with you, right? And
it's actually a big deal. It ended up being a really big deal. We've negotiated very good discounts and rates for our franchisees with these large companies because they see it as an advantage.
Yeah. It's one client really. It really, I mean, in that sense, you're almost like one brand, one client, and they could be employees for all that to them, right? Your franchisees. Yeah,
They
very smart
tend,
move.
they tend to call them our employees, and we have to always correct
Yeah,
them.
they don't care. They're just like, as long as you pay the check, right? As long as you handle what we ask you to pay us, we're happy just to do what we do. But I can see as a marketer why that's so much easier. Like you could say, sure, we'll do business directly, whatever. But if you don't have the infrastructure built in a way that's centralized, it does make it hard for them not to have to, interact with, call it 100 different businesses. So anyway, very good piece
Well,
of
it's centralized IT, it's centralized systems. There's a ton of back end work that has to go into integrating with these marketing systems, and we have one person that's in charge of all 180 locations versus each individual location trying to figure out how to synchronize all of this stuff. It would be a nightmare, but that's how a lot of franchise systems do it. And oh man, that's just a lot of work that's just not going places. So that these innovations, if you will, I guess you can call them technology innovations, but it's the interaction between the systems we have placed with our staff and the technologies that we're trying to utilize, all coming together. And then we'll rearrange wherever we need to. Oh, we got to change our systems to accommodate this new technology. Let's do it. And then we're
I
adaptable.
think if you understand your workflow process, if you understand how everybody's working together and how processes are well defined and how they work, then the technology's an enabler that can be swapped in and out, and you can bring in new stuff. But it's really the process, right? The process may be more automated, but it's still the process, right? From tech to tech. But I find that if you don't know the process or you're just not clear on what you should be doing in the first place, then the tech becomes something else. And that's where the inefficiency you can be chasing tech. And it's just, why are we doing this again? I forget why why are we automating this thing? But if you know your process, then you're saying, well, we're automating this thing to save time and money and make it better for the client. So anyway, but that makes perfect sense. And I appreciate that. Now I mean, and again, I don't hear that a lot from brands. So it's a good move. And again, it enables you, the momentum of adding franchisees comes from the success of the current ones. And one of the hardest things in any business model is getting business, right? So you're helping with both new business as well as coordinating clients. Is it both customer service they're doing, or is it all marketing, or is it a combination? How does the call center support the franchisees?
We want the franchisees where they make their money is out in front of homeowners. So we want them doing sales and managing job sites. So the more we can take off their plate and let them focus on that core, the more money they'll make. So any kind of marketing, we take that off their plate. Scheduling, all the admin stuff, that's taken off their plate. Any systems we can put in, even with e-payments and ACH, and we have financing on the back end, anything that we can bolt on to them so they can focus on their core money making tasks, the better. So we're constantly adding and kind of circling around them so it frees them up to do their thing.
And I think there's a lot what you're saying. I think of the one thing. I think of the book, the one thing, and really say, when you think about it, if I'm in front of a homeowner almost nonstop every day, interacting, helping the project move forward, or selling something additional or whatever, but developing the relationship with the homeowner. If I'm doing that more of the day, then I'm going to make more money. So how do I get a guy in that position to do that more of the day? It reminds me of a lot of the B2B marketing I used to focus on. I would explain that if a salesperson spends 80% of their time looking for a conversation, then they're not really selling most of the day. We can get them inverse that. 80% of the time they're talking in conversation about a sale, they're going to be much more productive. Right. Oh, yeah. So how do you do that? And that's interesting because there's a lot of that communicating that has to happen, but it doesn't involve what you just said, keeping them in front of the homeowner. It's the booking of meetings. It's the follow-up. It's the confirmations. It's the, hey, we need this from the homeowner or whatever. Right. I mean, it's just so much detail that would have you off doing other things other than the one thing you should be doing.
Yeah. And none of that stuff makes you money.
Exactly.
This owner, the only thing that's really making money is selling floors and executing the floors. That's the money. All the other admin stuff around it is just, in some ways, it's necessary, but it can be wasted time. So that time drain. So if we can get that stuff off their plate, then that lets them focus on the right things.
Exactly. You're not always going to be the most efficient person in those other tasks anyway. So like you not only are you doing it for them, but you're doing it as well as it can be done.
I
So
find good
versus
salespeople to be the worst admin people ever. So let's.
yes. Well, I was going to say we're absolutely not wired. If you're wired to be a sales guy, you're not wired for the opposite. So
No, let's you do sales. We'll find somebody else to do the admin side for you.
yeah. No, if you're listening, pay attention. That's a good sign for a model like that. So tell me, that's a good segue. What do you look for? Like, I'm sure you're involved still in a lot of the recruiting. What you have this wonderful model. Obviously, you're probably a little choosy at this point. Tell me what you're looking for when you talk to somebody for the first time or as they move down the process with you.
I tend to consider myself pretty good judge of character, and even to this point, it's very difficult to identify who's going to do well and who's not. Even though I've had a lot of experience, we've brought a lot of people in over the years, and I have a lot of data now behind me. It's still a bit of a crapshoot. I mean, you're trying to find that somebody that can sell and is motivated, but also has the sticking power and kind of the emotional fortitude to be a business owner, because it's being a business owner is hard. And I think a lot of people can fall in love with the pay. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make how much money? And you go, yeah, but that's like down the road, right? The first couple of years are tough. Year 3, 4, 5, if you're good at this. And they always are like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to be good at this. Like, no, if you're good at this, you can make that kind of money. But it's definitely a journey. It's a marathon. And so it's hard to find people. We've had a number of failures, and almost every failure I could say though is because they just simply they quit. We don't really have failures other than people just can't deal with the emotions of being a business owner. They'll phrase it as like, oh, I just thought it would be easier, or it's just easier to go back to their cubicle because they could just show up and stare at the clock all day and then go home and get paid. Whereas you got to work. As a business owner, you don't eat if you don't, find it. So yeah. So we're looking for guys. So I don't know, the political answers. We're looking for people that enjoy sales and customer service. But I'm looking for somebody who's going to be able to persevere and has kind of that forward thinking mentality to know that the pain of today isn't always going to be the same. Things change, and human nature is this, whatever I'm feeling today is forever. And we all know from experience that that's not true. Things come and go all the time. But to be able to look past that, and it's a hard thing to identify into somebody, that you're just meeting. But that I think is the number one differentiator between people that are good business owners and people that are not, is can you look past the pain of today and make it till, tomorrow, and make sound decisions today that will help you tomorrow. That's hard.
Yeah, no, I think that the being focused on building a business is something that it's more than one day or 1 month or I'm motivated the first part of the year. It's ongoing, right? So it must be interesting in your position to deal with so many is, and you see a lot and you're wondering, why did that guy make it and that guy didn't and this guy does? But ultimately the net of it is you'll never find a more successful model than franchising, and you guys are doing exceptionally well. And I would make it very clear to the audience that if you want to get into business, this is one way to do it. That's for sure. Because doing it yourself is even harder. If that was hard, as you said, right? Like,
and not that I'm the only one out there doing this, but I would also recommend find a mentor that's good at this and latch onto them. If I mean, that's the beauty of franchising. I'm involved daily with my franchisees' lives. They can all reach out to me and text and call, and they do often, and ask for advice about anything or just to sit and talk. And I'm good at this. I have good instincts and I have a lot of experience behind me, and I have a lot of data. Not only have I run my own business, but now I've been watching 180 other businesses. I do P&L analysis constantly. I find somebody like me that's out there that you can latch onto, and they'll help you. We call it running a business with training wheels, but in some ways it's It's just having somebody pull you along for a while that knows like, we should go this way. And you just go, okay, sounds good. You've done this before.
Yeah.
Like you're going to go hiking in the mountains or fishing. You find the expert fisherman that's going to take you out and show you all the good spots rather than just
Exactly.
paddling around in the water hoping you find some fish or something. Like, no, let's hire a guide because that's what they're good at, and that's,
I don't think there is anything in existence that would be, that's the side fringe benefit of running a franchise business, is being in a network or a community of people doing exactly the same thing somewhere else.
Oh,
I mean, you could join groups, you could get a consultant, get a coach, get a mastermind group. They're still doing different stuff. They're not, even if it's close or same industry, you're never going to find someone that's exactly doing what you're doing and be willing. Like you said, I look at P&Ls all the time. I have good instincts. I mean, I don't think there's one thing that moves in a business more than just validation or verification. Like for me in my life, I can tell you so many stopping points were because I didn't have a guy like you to say, yep, I've been here. I've been here. Then if you don't have that guy, you're thinking through, you're wondering, I'm second guessing, I'm not sure. That's the role of an entrepreneur that is so risky because you just don't have that. But knowing that someone says, oh no, I've been there before, I kind of know what that looks like. All right, I'm doing it. I'm moving forward, right? Sometimes that's the nudge you need. That's the push you need to get to the other side. I honestly, I think that's one of the things that people talk about least that I think would be the most helpful is just being around other business owners that are doing what you're doing. But it's just that verification of, yeah, you get it. You know what I'm going through.
And access to the staff and to the CEO. And I've been in a lot of those groups over the years, and I'm very involved in my church and in the community. And there's not too many, CEOs floating around out there. So you're in these groups and it's like, oh, there's an accountant, there's a drywaller, there's like, are these guys really going to be able to speak at high levels into your business? And generally speaking, it's just, it's hard to find successful, accessible CEOs because you want them both. There's CEOs out there that you maybe can never talk to. And then there's people that are accessible, but they don't really have a lot of knowledge or wisdom that's going to be very beneficial. But being part of a franchise model, you get access to somebody who's good at both of those things, accessible and has had success.
Now it's very unique. And as I said, I've seen every other form of trying to make money. And there's nothing as much of a sure thing if there were such a thing in any kind of business. And I know that's not the case of even franchising, but it's as close as you'll get if you've got the right heart and head. Tell me, what would be the advice you would leave for someone in your place in 2019? Like you were a successful local business owner, right? You were the man in Denver. And then you said, I want to go beyond this. What advice would you have for guys like you? Because here's what I'm thinking is I love franchising because good businesses bubble to the surface and a lot of them become brands, right? Because they're really good at what they do. And I'm sure a lot of them second guess the whole idea of franchising. Any advice you would have for a great business owner like you were that you'd want to speak into, if you could go back and speak to yourself?
Yeah. It's interesting. I have a lot of people approach me. It's probably been 30 over the last 10 years interested in franchising. Oh, I want to franchise my business. And nearly every single one of them that I've talked to, it's way too premature. They don't have they don't even have their own individual unit economics figured out. Like, are you making money doing this? Oh no, but I want to franchise. Like, well, one, you got to figure out how to make money yourself so you can even speak into the lives of anybody else. It's way too expensive to franchise to just go out and willy-nilly do this. So that's part of my advice is make sure you're running your own successful business. And maybe this is just how I did it. There's other routes to it. There's private equity and these kinds of things, but I didn't go that way. I had a successful business and then we started going from there. And then the flip side, people that do have successful businesses, I think franchising, there's kind of a crossroads place. And I found myself in it where do you want to reinvest your money and your time? Do you continue to build in your individual market? Do you start branching into other kind of related, systems, tangential offerings for your business, or do you go in the franchise model and I'm very thankful the direction that we went. It's different. It fit my personality well. I'm not a micromanager. I'm not controlling. I don't need. I tend to trust people, and I think that might be hard for a lot of business owners that want to keep things nice and tight and controllable. And there's kind of a thought that if they're employees, then I can control more. These are franchisees, so in some ways, you're legally letting go of some of your control and letting them represent you in your brand, this baby that you've been creating for the last decade. My experience, though, and maybe this is what I would say to myself 6 years ago as I was thinking about this, is my franchisees are better at representing me than I am. They're fantastic at it. Like their reviews, their ratings, the level of happiness that they have with their customers, their crews, they're good. They're better at it than I ever was. I'm much more volume oriented and growth and innovation and all these things, which means interpersonal relationships with customers tends to be what gets a little bit lost in that. And so these guys, they make our brand better. So any fears that I might have had where they would run my name and my baby into the ground have not been the case at all. They've been phenomenal. So if anything,
I love that. That part was a good one. Yeah. That was a good one. That I always like that. I didn't think of that. Yeah, because the truth is, I know that is hard. I think any small business owner struggles with that in growth is letting go. But your point is, I think that's an important point to make. When someone becomes a franchisee and you've taken the time to give them the program and the training and the support the way that you've built it. Now you've stepped out, built it. You've never gone through it yourself. You've never been a franchisee of your own brand. But to your point, it's like you've built something where these people, they're proud of what they're doing. They work hard at it. You've trained them exceptionally well, and they go out and do it better than you, right? I think that's the difference, is that you really built something where you should be able to trust them. I mean, you really put a lot of effort into helping them become great. So let them be great.
Yeah, no, and I do trust them, and it's been a fun ride, and we're not going anywhere. Planning on doing this for a long time.
Good deal. So before I let you go, what would you say as the CEO and a little bit of this visionary person as well? What do you see, in the next 5-10 years? Anything interesting? Anything that's on your mind, just about where things are going in your industry or in the franchising world?
I think we've seen a lot of changes over the last 10 or 20 years. I think that they're going to continue to speed up, and technology is going to come into play far more. And companies that are able to adapt and be on the forefront and incorporate these new technologies as they come through are really going to be able to separate themselves from competition. And at least in the construction and service world, it's very much an industry still lost in time. I still see handwritten proposals and people snail mailing proposals. Like, really? Oh my gosh. The fact that we're in emails puts us at the forefront of the flooring industry. But no, I've seen technologies that we were very unique in using and utilizing 5-10 years ago become commonplace today. Some of these automations and things that were always differentiators for us, it's become far easier for our competition to get a hold of it. As the trailblazer, we're creating it, but then it becomes easier and cheaper. So we find ourselves needing to constantly push the envelope and always need to be ahead. I'm excited to do it. That's fun for me to think about, and we have the ability to do it, and we'll continue to do it. Yeah, so that's where I find myself. And for all franchisors, we need to be always pushing the envelope and never settle for I'm good. If you're not growing,
yeah, I mean, I think that's the challenge too, right? To be in your shoes. I mean, you have to. Your part of your product is offering a business model, and in doing so, you want to be innovative and make sure that it is what it needs to be. But to your point, and you made this earlier when we were talking before we got on air here, if it doesn't impact the customer or the franchisee in a positive way, it doesn't have to be tech for tech's sake, right? We're not just doing it to keep up, but we're doing it to say, what doesn't change in business? Well, customers want to be taken care of. They want to be responded to. They want you to do a good job. So that will never change. So as technology enables that better, you just keep bringing in the new tech to do that. But that's very, very. I think Jeff Bezos was asked that once because you think he's this innovative guy and he must know a lot. And I think he said to someone, "Well, I know what won't change." They asked him, "Well, what will change in 10 years?" He said, "Well, what won't change is people want their packages quickly, right?" And so what do we do to keep that going? What does that look like exactly? And so that could be a lot of things from a technological standpoint, but to the customer, it's just, hey, I want my package.
Yep.
And
the target is customer service and a happy flooring customer. And then I see technology as different arrows in our quiver to hit that target. So let's pull out this one, let's pull out that one. And sometimes they need to change, but it's constantly restocking and getting better, but with the same goal in mind, the same target. We're still aimed at delivering a great floor every time.
Exactly. That doesn't change. That makes it a little easier. Not much, but a little bit. So best way to reach you guys, can we share the website address, phone numbers, anything you want to share for people if they're interested?
Footprintsfloors.com. That's our main website. And then there's a franchising link in the top right corner if you want to do that, or you can just check out our general website as well. And there's a lot of info out there, a lot of podcasts and articles and reviews and all kinds of stuff. So
exactly. Yeah. Plenty of information to learn more. And these guys will steer you in the right direction. I highly encourage a conversation. Bryan, it's always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to having you back because I know things will be changing. And you guys will continue to serve your customers.
15 years. We didn't talk about it. We just hit 15 years. This is a big year for us. So
that's right. Well, we did briefly. So 15 years, no doubt. Congrats on that. And very happy to hear that. And we'll keep, we'll be here when you're at 20 and 25 and so forth. So that'll be good to see. And I'm a Colorado guy. I'm in Colorado Springs. So I'm very familiar with the Denver market. Not an easy market. So for you to have dominated up there, I'm that wasn't an easy thing to accomplish. So
go up and do what you say you're going to do. That's it.
That's right. Right. Well, you figured that would be easy, but then again, who knows? Exactly. But thank you so much, Bryan, for being on the show today, and looking forward to having you back.
Thanks, Rob.